Okay.
Why'd you send me orphans when I asked for soldiers?
Because we had to.
Thank
Because
you.
they're orphan soldiers.
Ooh, orphan
They're,
soldiers, the best kind of
they're
soldiers.
expendable.
Yes, that's a whole TV trope, Conveniently.
Yeah, no, don't do it. Oh no!
What? Did someone say something? I wasn't.
Well, if you can
I wasn't
mention
listening.
TV tropes, we can mention Al Nosy. Just kidding.
Hey!
Anyway, sorry.
All right, so we are finally heading off-world. We are finally heading to space, and Gundam does it the best way possible.
Oh yeah.
Low orbital fighting scenes, which is pretty great. So we start off this episode, and you start off with Orga and Orcus. Yeah, Orga and Orcus. They're signing a deal, and Orcus looks like he looks like someone from New Jersey managed to make it to Mars. I don't get this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's like,
have you seen Mars? It's pretty pathetic looking.
Yeah, it's pretty
hey,
trashy.
what's the matter with you? You're gonna make a problem in my neighborhood? Really?
It is pretty trashy.
Yeah, I mean, look at half the people who live on Mars.
Yeah,
Like most of the people who live on Mars.
Yeah, I mean, none of them are actually winning like any, beauty contests. I'm just saying.
I have it on good authority that New Jersey is not built of war orphans. Thank you very much.
Just give it some time.
Chris Christie 2015 or 2016.
In 2020, in the future. Anyway,
Yes.
sorry, getting way off track again.
Politics. They keep getting their way into all sorts of anime. It's crazy.
Right.
Anyway, so
Okay.
Orga and Orcus, they signed their deal. They're gonna ship him off to Earth, and then 10 seconds later, Orcus is already ready to sell them out, and he's ready to sell them out to Galahorn and Major Coral. But before we actually get to space, we have to have our last touching scenes on Earth. What do we got?
Oh,
We
yeah.
have Actra. Mars, you're right, yeah. Actra is sneaking her way onto Earth, and Tekkadan isn't even considering, like, man,
No,
she
Fidelia. You're mixing your
but, like,
girls up.
No, Atra is sneaking onto is getting onto the ship, and Tekkadan's, they're not even thinking, like, she might die. Maybe we shouldn't bring her, like.
Well, she wants to cook food for them. I mean, you gotta have food in space.
Yeah, I don't.
Why
You
eat
know
space
these guys
food?
can't cook.
I thought someone would be like, well, hold on a second. You might die, right?
Nah.
Really?
Nah. They don't think that right.
I'm the crazy. I'm the
They're
crazy.
thinking with their stomach, like, we need food.
I mean, seriously, who do you think? These guys can hardly read. Who taught them how to cook?
Right. I mean,
All they do is know how to shoot guns.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we were speculating, like, last week, whatever, that Cookie and Cracker would do that, would sneak on, but they didn't. Thankfully. I'm glad they didn't.
I'm actually
So.
still wondering how they're going to be put back into the show, because
Yeah.
I cannot believe that they're going to be off the show
Yeah, I can't either.
for like 20-something episodes, because they said in the beginning, like, it's going to take 5 months to get to Earth,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, okay, that's 5 months' time. What are you going to do with these little girls? They need to get
Well,
back
I
to the show
assume-
somehow.
I assume they're going to come back to Mars at some point because this is a 26 episode show or 25 or whatever. They've already left Earth, but like they're not going to. I don't think they're going to be on Earth for the entire night. I think they will have to come back to Mars.
Well, I mean, there's
Right.
really nothing on Mars for us to follow as an audience. There's nobody there other than the twins.
Well, no,
Like,
Martian.
there's-
Well, you're right. This is a show that's about Martian independence. Like, if they're going to Earth for the purpose of Martian independence, it makes sense for them to have to then go back to Mars to help further that independence movement.
Yeah, but that would be like 10 months' time. It takes 5 months to get to Earth and 5
Yeah,
months
but they're not
to
going
get
to spend. But it's probably not going to be more than like half an episode in space. So you go down to Earth, you do your negotiating. You're like, okay, here's the reasons why Martians should not be enslaved to Earth. Then you go back and then you start rousing a rebel army or something. I think it would make less sense for them not to return to Mars. That's the way the show has been written.
Right,
Well,
but I don't think it's
gonna
gonna be.
return. They just,
I don't think it's gonna be that easy though. I think they're obviously gonna have trouble.
I never said it was going
along
to
the
be
way.
easy, but
Right, I know that. I mean, we don't know who else is gonna survive the trip to Earth and back from Earth to
Yeah,
Mars.
because I think they're gonna spend
Yeah.
more time on like in space, like between
Mm-hmm.
places than you think. Because most of Gundam's biggest scenes
In
and
space,
fights and stuff
right?
is in space, like between them traveling from one place to another,
Right,
and
because they're
that's where
kind
they
of
get most of their fights at.
right, because they're out in the open. There's nowhere to hide. You
Hmm.
can't really hide behind. You can hide behind a moon, but that's about it. So it's like there's not very
Yeah,
many
and I
places
mean,
you can hide.
and I'm sure like yeah, and like going back to like there was a bunch of really great fight scenes in the
Hmm.
space around Mars, where first of all after Orga and the crew they're off on their little cruiser ship, they're heading over to Orcus to have them launch for Orcus to guide them, but of course Orcus betrays them and Derp Hitler's left stranded,
Yeah.
which is real darn shame. I mean, Derp Hitler, we hardly knew you.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen to him. I'm interested. But there's one scene they did where they kind of did this catapult maneuver on this meteor rock
Oh,
thing. I was like,
that was sweet.
it was cool, but I'm like, what? I was trying to figure out the purpose of doing that. I guess they wanted to swing back at the enemy to get
Yeah.
maybe advantage over them. I was just that whole process was kind of it was cool looking. Don't get me wrong, but it was just kind of seemed kind of weird. But I guess maybe their ships aren't very capable of turning that much as
Oh yeah,
compared to
they
the other
explained
ones.
it. They said that the
Okay.
problem was that they couldn't Orcus's ship was bearing down on
Uh-huh.
them and it was trying to shoot them,
Right.
and they couldn't turn around because the way their ships are built, they would have
If
to
they
actually
turned
literally
around, they'd like have to stand still.
yeah, they would have to
Right,
literally
yeah.
stop and then turn around,
Wow,
and in
yeah.
that space they would get blown out the sky.
That's gonna be
Okay.
a big problem later on. I think they need to. Wow.
Yeah, so basically they
Yeah.
had to
Right.
literally slingshot themselves around an object in order to get the momentum in order to fly past
Yeah.
the other ship.
Yeah. It was
Sadly,
cool.
there's no drifting in space.
No. Yeah, the other thing that's
Burns
cool.
and
I mean,
space
they're
rubber.
using real. Not. I mean, I know it's real and you can use it in space, but I mean, it's nice to see him kind of using somewhat real science in this, as far as space, because Gundam always gets the critical thing of, oh, you can't do that in space, and they, a lot of the Gundams do that, where it's like, okay, that you can't do that. Like people that study space
I'm
kind
not
of roll their eyes.
like myself, but there have been like all these there on other forums I go on, they're
Uh-huh.
talking like all this physicist talk about
Yeah.
how fast you need to go and how
Yeah.
strong the tether has to be, and I'm like,
Yep.
cool.
I mean, that's what I always
Those
see with
must be the
Gundam.
kind of-
Yeah.
Well, Irene, those are the kinds of people that heavy object is for.
Right.
Hey,
Well, that and other
Hey.
shows do it too, but yeah, I mean that was I think that
highly
was cool. I mean,
won't agree with you. You
how many
said
times
it's
you
non-existent engineering.
I'm just hoping they don't. That's not like their go-to maneuver every time they run into problems. Oh, find a rock. Let's grapple hook to it.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Come
It
on.
seems like one of those one time really big
Right.
like
Yeah.
set piece.
Cause
like,
I was like the guy who's volunteered to do it. I'm like that's like you sacrifice like a red flag right there. It's like you're gonna get killed. You try that again.
well,
Yeah, I totally thought this episode Eugene would bite the bullet because
Yeah.
like they were setting him up. They're like they've shown him in like his arguments with
Uh-huh.
Orga.
they don't like each other and
Yeah, well, it's not that they don't like each other. That it's a one-sided thing. Eugene's like they've mentioned in like promotional details. Like Eugene used to be like the boss guy before Orga showed up.
okay.
Yeah, so he's like kind of jealous, and then like he goes, and then like when they're before they do Operation Slingshot,
Uh-huh.
Eugene's like, I hate how you're always like sacrificing yourself. You're the boss. Let me do
Right.
it. It was like I thought for sure that Eugene was gonna bite the bullet, and you know what? I am very glad that he didn't.
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah,
Orga?
that-
Go ahead. Sorry, Ari.
Oh, it's like it sets up things that happen later. Like he could still. I still have a feeling he's gonna betray them at some point, and then
Right.
maybe come back later on, like after learning his lesson. But I still have a feeling he's gonna do that. But him actually being more part of the group now and kind of accepting of Orga now
Mhm.
is gonna make it even worse later on.
Do you think Orga would use that maybe to his advantage that other people would jump in the way to do something before he would? Since he's the commander. I think more people are gonna be like, well, I'll do it, and they volunteer before
Well,
even
actually,
thinking
I hope
about
they
anything.
do, because like Eugene was right about that.
Yeah.
That you guys shouldn't just depend
Uh-huh.
on Orga for everything, and Orga
Right.
was really going to go out there and do
True.
it
I mean,
himself.
he would have done it himself, right?
And it's like, guys, he's your captain. What if you guys do something?
Right. I mean, yeah, I
Right.
could foresee, Biscuit doing that and doing something
Oh, I can't see
stupid
Biscuit
and getting
doing
himself
it.
killed
I
because
can't see him
for the
doing
greater
anything
thing.
like
Right. I mean, for the greater good. I mean, he would probably do it because say I'm gonna do it because I don't want Orga to get killed. So
Oh,
they can set that up later.
Eugene has to have the spotlight because he's
Uh-huh.
a Stark. Like Tony Stark.
Right. Yeah.
He has to be literally the center of attention, and he can't he's annoyed when other people are, which I think is part of his thing with Orga. Like he thinks he knows better, even though he recognizes that Orga's a better leader, and it annoys him.
Right. Yeah. I think there might be a little bit of jealousy there. Like they follow Orga, but they wouldn't follow me. So it's like, whatever. I guess I'll just join them.
His ancestor, like Tony Stark versus Captain America.
True.
Yes, it's just like that.
Yeah. Hey, his last name really is Stark.
Is
Right.
it really?
Yeah, his full
I didn't
name
even
is
notice that.
Eugene Seven Stark.
Well, the only Starks I know are obviously Tony Stark and the ones from Game of Thrones, and a lot of them aren't doing so good. But that's a different thing. But what do you guys think of Mika's space fight? For me, I was surprised. I'm like, usually Gundam pilots that never been in space have the most trouble piloting in space and fighting, but Mika seems like he has no problem whatsoever.
Well,
Almost.
they do explain that slightly because they talk about basically the Alana Yasha, whatever that system is called that's in the back of his neck.
Uh-huh.
They talk about he does have that, and
Right.
also
That makes sense.
Akihiro doesn't have that, which
That
is an
makes
important
sense,
plot
yeah.
point later.
That
And
makes
they also
you're right.
mentioned earlier that what was it? The thing was made for Gundams like this,
Uh-huh.
so unsurprisingly, he's the perfect guy for the job.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I also think it's actually another point would be that he's a child soldier and he's been trained for years on how to fight, and he's been practicing for years on how to fight. And they live on Mars. It would be like you living on Hawaii and not learning how to swim. It's part
Right.
of your, it's part of being in that place. And so for him, he would probably have been practicing on how to fight in space
Uh-huh.
because they were planning on going to space anyway.
Right.
Before the whole thing with CGS went down, they were chosen to go to space. So they were prepared to be able to do that, which probably meant also fighting in space. So
Right, yeah.
that, because you remember Akihiro also knows how to fight in space. He just wasn't as good because his system wasn't the same as it usually is.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, that's
but he
true.
was still able to fight, even if he wasn't as good as Mika was.
Yeah. So Mika he finishes off Coral. Right.
Right.
Coral is dead.
Well, we're not sure actually. There's still speculation.
Really? I thought for sure he was dead.
I think he is, but the rule of Gundam and pretty much any anime is you have to see the body first.
Not
So,
Coral.
and there was no explosion either. So it's very possible that he's still alive somehow. It's just
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be that surprised,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know. I thought he would have bit the bullet.
like
Yeah.
they have to literally say, "Oh, he's dead," and then show his dead body, and then I will believe it.
You gotta see the purple smoke. They always do that in Gundam.
Well, actually,
purple
no.
explosion.
It used to be pink.
Pink,
It used to
right?
be
Yeah.
pink all the time.
Pink,
They
yeah.
changed it to purple now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, after that, you got McGillis and Gallia. They kind of joined the fight, which was cool. I always wanted to see them fight in kind of machines they use, because since they're
Yeah.
higher class, I'm like, but they kind of get schooled by Mika
Well,
pretty easily.
No.
No, they did not get schooled because, I mean, calling it a draw would be generous, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Definitely McGillis was much better than, McGillis was a lot better than, Mika was in this fight. Why couldn't I say his name?
Right. I mean, I would, if given like a fair fight, I think he would have more advantage. He's probably piloted more in space than Mika ever has.
Also, I think McGillis, he's the character who's, well, first off, it's clear now. Sorry for the trope, but he's the clear Char clone of the series.
Right. Yeah. I can
Even
see
he
it.
has no mask, but
Not yet.
he's pretty much got the entire attitude, bearing, the weight, the intelligence, basically everything else that you would have for for the character.
I could see him get a mask later. Maybe if Mika does some maneuver and he breaks like glass in his suit and cuts his face all up. I could see that being a thing. Why he gets a mask.
Or
He's fitted 'cause of
Galio
that.
betrays him somehow.
Yeah.
That would be cool too.
Yeah, Galileo seems to be kind of a guy who I would see maybe doing something like that later on.
Well, it would be really cool if you remember what happened to Garma from the original Gundam series, and they were definitely thinking of Garma and Char when they made these two characters. And if they flipped that, it would be really cool.
Right. I did think before. I think that when they were trying to, I guess, figure out which suit he was using, it was cool that they, I guess, did some kind of Gundam like a fanfare a fan thing where like the name Gundam pops up in like Great Times of War or fighting. That name, I was like, that's pretty cool. They mentioned that Gundam is the thing. You know, it's not just the first time seeing it. It's actually, they did a callback to the older Gundams, I guess, which is kind of nice.
And I do like the design of McGillis's and his friend's suit. Like they had that funky lance on one of their arms.
Yeah, that was cool. That lance reminded me a lot of Double O. They use a lot of weapons like that, lances and stuff.
That was cool. I think those are called. They're Greys, but they're like a Schwalbe Greys. Some German name, Schwalbe, something like that.
Yeah, I didn't catch the name, but yeah, it looks like I think they're gonna. The big fight I think happens next time. I think between the three of them, but yeah, so it's interesting seeing what they're gonna do with that.
And also, what am I thinking of? Oh yeah, so you also have things where it's like exposing Mika's weaknesses. Because when McGillis is like just starting to get into the fight, he's like, you're not used to having thrusters on your back, so he like starts basically sniping him in space. And then Mika counteracts by it's like, I knew you'd target my weak spot or something like that. So it's like these two are very. I really like how they're setting these two up because like, fuck Ein, no one really cares about Ein.
Leave Ein alone.
Yeah, I think he would do something later, but right now he's just he's fueled by rage and he needs to calm down.
But aside from Ein and his lack of being useful to anything as of yet,
and Galio was pretty useless too.
Yeah, let's not forget that Akihiro is in Crank's former Greys, just as a way to stick it to the man, I guess.
Well, actually, it was by chance because remember Orga said that it was actually supposed to be merchandise. Like I'm guessing they're actually going to try to sell these like at some point because they was like, oh, you're going to use merchandise? He's like, well, we won't have a business if we die. So he sent Akihiro out there in that. And that's probably why it doesn't have like, the Alana, Vegeta, whatever system in it. Like Mika's does.
Well, no, it's because the Greys are newer models and the Alana system, let's just call it the Alana system. The Alana system is something that's older and like it wasn't used in former military tech.
Well, yeah, but what they did with Mika's was they took it didn't have a cockpit, so they put Mika's old worker cockpit into it. They could have done the same thing with the Greys. They could just take the cockpit out and then put the old one in if they needed to. And so they were actually going to sell these as repaired and then sell them, somewhere, I guess. And so I'm guessing, I don't know if they're still going to try to sell them or if they're going to keep them battle ready. I don't know.
I think, well, we've definitely seen shots in the opening of Akihiro is still going to be fighting in the mech in space. So I figured that his role in this, they need at least one more fighter aside from Mika. And Akihiro is probably the best one for that job. Like, we've had a couple of scenes previously in the show of like those two competing like in physical exercise and stuff. So there's definitely a sense of rivalry between those two characters.
Well, they're supposed to like the two best
fighters.
Pilots, yeah.
Right, and I think
so
his
it makes
bio said
sense
he's
good at fighting.
Well, those two, and then Eugene was like the third one.
Yeah.
And going back to Eugene, because we didn't actually explain what he did. Eugene, he basically volunteered to ram into the asteroid or whatever.
Right. Yeah. He wanted to do that to help
Which is a very noble sacrifice, considering how unlikely that whole plan seemed to be. And I don't pretend to understand the science of these kinds of shows. It's just like Eugene rammed in the asteroid and they slingshot it around the asteroid. That's all you really need to understand.
Right. Yeah.
It's basically they needed a push to pull the the whole opposite reaction, equal and opposite force equals another force, that sort of thing.
Because
My
their
physics
ship
grades weren't that good. You're gonna have to explain that in simpler
because
terms.
their ship's like a minivan, doesn't turn very well. So
Pretty much.
See,
doesn't-
Josh understands how it works.
doesn't turn on a dime. So
Okay, you ever been in one of those little cars, bumper cars?
Yeah.
But you need to get hit backwards, and so you hit the wall, and so your car bounces backwards. That's what a force thing.
nice.
It all makes sense now.
So that they could start turning, and so they could go all the way around, and then he would stay there to shoot the wire off so that they didn't crash directly into the.
Yeah. Or deep sea space station. Yeah, that's they're fishing for.
It was like a
meteors.
mining vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the end, Mika has managed to fight off both McGillis and Fareed. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
McGillis.
McGillis and
Gallia.
Yeah. Why not? Anyway, he fights off those two. Akihiro is alive. Eugene is still alive miraculously. They decide to give Gjallarhorn a present as Derp Hitler is their new package.
Yeah, and then you had McGillis kind of like he just died laughing. I guess after seeing everything he saw today, that was just the last thing he needed to see.
He has a sense of like he's a normal guy, which I like that because they made him sort of human. Because he seemed kind of like really out there thus far.
Yeah, he gives out candy and
I mean
he's got the
candy.
He's got the blonde hair. He's good looking. I mean, come on, he's got everything.
He's very chivalrous. He's very straight and narrow. He has rules.
Yeah,
you can't bribe him.
While Gallia on the side is kind of like
just call him Char. I get it. Just call him Char.
And then you have Gallia kind of the creeper. I don't really like him.
So Gallia also has a racial issue with this whole Martian thing.
Yeah. Gotta have at least one racist on the team. Gotta have at least one.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's gonna come and bite him in the butt eventually.
Right.
Char? Yeah. Oh, sorry, not Char. McGillis.
Yeah.
I don't think he has that problem, or at least not that as far as we can see.
Right.
He does, because he seems to be, pretty much okay with both groups. He just observes people based on who they are.
Well, I really want to see how McGillis sees the world, because we've talked about how Kudelia sees the world. We've talked about how Orga sees the world. I do want to see how he sees the world, because he's clearly the person who's gonna be he's gonna be that likable antagonist who he's on the other side, but you don't dislike the guy at all. Whereas I don't know.
I
still don't know what they're doing.
The only other questions I have left is what's gonna happen to Derp Hitler? I mean, are they gonna get information out of him, or just gonna start throw him in a cell somewhere and be like, forget him?
Well, he's
I
not
wonder what they're
dead,
gonna do with him.
so I assume we haven't seen the last of him.
Right, they're gonna use him for something. I mean, it's either for information or something. I mean, they gotta get something out of this guy.
I'm wondering what's gonna happen. Really, he doesn't have any information that.
Right, he doesn't. Yeah.
They would really that either they don't already know, or they couldn't easily find out.
Right, it's on Earth. Okay.
If I could go into full speculation mode, here is my general plot synopsis, I guess, for going forward. They're going to get to Earth. Kudelia is going to engage in some negotiations. There's going to be some fighting. They're going to go back to Mars to incite a rebellion of some sorts. And then about the halfway point of the series, they do the rebellion, but the rebellion fails. Code Geass style, essentially.
Right, obviously.
So then you gotta start over. They're gonna be in some kind of prison. They're gonna reunite with Derp Hitler. And then Derp Hitler is gonna reinstate the Reich. Whoa, where did I start going with that? What I meant to say is they're gonna just have to reinstate Tekadan or something and try again.
Tekadan 2.
I'm not. That sounds interesting. I'm not sure if they're really gonna. That's a lot to do in one season, especially with only considering it's supposed to be right now. It's only 25 episodes, and that's a lot to do in that amount of time. I think that I'm not sure about the rebellion part because they really have been really light on the whole independence thing. Like they've mentioned it in the background. They've talked about Kudelia's role in it, They talked a little bit about, the politics part, but it's really always been in the background. It's almost always has been about
You're
Texan.
right, but that's been like the motivating force behind all the political maneuvering. Like, why is Coral trying to kill Cordelia? Because of the rebellion. Why is Cordelia trying to go to Earth
Well,
in the first place?
actually,
Because of
trying to kill her because of the rebellion. The rebellion was just really a tool that he was using to get money.